Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. The division championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News & World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. I'm your host, Steve Francisco. It's a real pleasure to welcome to the studio today Paul Saxton, who is actually a teacher right here at Eagan High School, and this is his home turf that we're on today, right, Paul?
Right. Usually I'm on the other side of this desk, so this is a little unnerving, but yes.
And he indicated he had a little bit of nervousness about doing an interview today, but I said, you're among friends. This is going to be great. So we are going to talk about several subjects here today, but primarily about the television studio that we have here at Eagan High School, which, as you know, is home to Access to Democracy and has been for the past 2 or 3 years, I believe, since we moved here from Thomson Reuters. But let's talk about you for a moment, Paul.
Sure.
I always like to give viewers a little bit of background on the people that we're interviewing. So when did you decide to become a teacher? When did you become a teacher?
So 1992, I got my first job here. I did some subbing in Buffalo before that, but and prior to that, I was actually a youth director, so at a church. So I've always loved working with kids, always. That was first and foremost. Love working with young people.
And you have a very interesting educational background yourself. Tell us where you grew up, where you went to school, and what you studied.
So, grew up in Burnsville back in the day, and my father was a teacher at Roosevelt High School.
In Minneapolis.
Which
is my alma mater.
Which, I'm telling you, if you have a yearbook, I guarantee you he's in there.
Right, and he taught shop classes,
He did,
I understand.
yeah, tech ed. And so I grew up in that lifestyle, that environment of a teacher, and I firsthand got to see the rewards of being a teacher and what that's like. So, coupled with working well with kids, it was a nice fit. It was an easy path for me to go into education.
You know, you've heard the expression, a cliche perhaps, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. It sounds like that applies to you.
I love this job. I love working with kids. Every year they just surprise me and inspire me to work even harder for them.
Very good. I understand that congratulations are in order to you and the students here at Eagan High School, and more particularly the students who participate in the class that you teach on television production. Tell us what important milestone you and your students observed yesterday, which was April 22nd.
Yeah, so that was our 900th show, which just corresponded with 30 years of doing the show. So we started in 1995. I was actually teaching Spanish at the time. I'm a business Spanish major with a master's in Spanish. And for the first year of the show, Cliff Dodge, who works for the district, 196, he started the show. And
the show is called
Eagan AM.
Eagan AM.
And he started it. And then the following year, he left and went to Eastview High School, and I took over the show while teaching Spanish as well. And then this just grew. Technology grew over the years.
And is Eagan AM, it's pre-recorded, or is it a live show?
It is a live show, which is a great amount of trust with the administration for letting me do that. I don't know any other school that does it live.
Right.
I mean, it adds an element that you can't teach. When you go live and I hit that button, it is a marvel to see what happens.
And you're out there, mistakes and all. Sometimes mistakes are made, somebody hits the wrong button or something. And
it does. That's why we're here. That's
Yeah.
why I put kids in positions so that they learn how to use the equipment.
Right. Well, as we've seen in television, that happens even among the professionals.
Right.
You know, they say we're having technical difficulty or something doesn't go according to plan.
So yeah, it's live. I take great pride in that. I think that's really a cool thing to have the students experience.
And again, it's an in-house TV program, just broadcast within Eagan High School?
Correct. And then we post to YouTube.
And so the students see it in their classroom during the school day.
Every student watches it.
How long is the show?
14 minutes.
So important announcements. Yeah, give us a flavor of like what type of events does Eagan AM cover
So
here?
students, announcements are important, but students, they want feature stories. Mostly they want soft pieces, but sometimes, I push my kids to do harder. We've done teen pregnancy, we've done smoking and vaping, and we've done stealing. We've done some hard pieces, but we've also done softer pieces where it's, people interviewing other kids in the hallway and
get to know their classmates
Get to know their
better.
classmates, what's happening in the building. We also have a segment for sports, WCR, Wildcat World of Sports, which is very popular. So those are that's the flavor. We throw some announcements in, but only as segues, to be honest.
I want to thank you for inviting me to be in studio yesterday morning for this anniversary program. I'm really glad I was able to be here and to feel the excitement of the students, yourself, and others. You had alumni who came back for this anniversary.
A lot of alumni, right. It was great.
It was really a great program, but to see the excitement and the enthusiasm of your students in this milestone accomplishment, 30 years, 900 shows. And I was really impressed that you even had some special greetings from some faces that our viewers will recognize from some of the major TV stations right here in the Twin Cities, WCCO.
Yeah, they all threw, I think, 4, 5, 9, 11. They all threw their shout outs to us. And we were actually featured that night as well on a couple of the news stations.
That's really great.
I know.
I want to ask you further about Eagan AM because this really caught my attention yesterday. You have had some really extraordinary interviews during that 30 years.
Yeah.
In 2010, you interviewed, or I should say the students interviewed a soldier who was in the middle of the Iraq War. How did that come to be?
It was an idea the kids had. The Iraq War was happening. It was a tumultuous time. And the kids wanted to do something, so I reached out and a faculty member knew somebody that was over there. And through that soldier, we were able to use a Polish satellite that was being rented by the US government for personnel over there to communicate with family members.
Right.
So we were able to use that, and we did a 1-anchor show right here. And Claire did it. She did an amazing job. And we spoke to that soldier, and we didn't know if it connected. She said, live in Iraq, and there was this pause because we didn't know, and all of a sudden he started talking, and you could just feel the stress relieved, in the control room.
Right.
And then we closed the show actually with in silence with the names of soldiers that had died
Wow.
over there. It was a very powerful show.
I was just really quite shocked to learn that Eagan AM had done that,
Yeah.
had been able to pull that off. That's a remarkable accomplishment. By the way, the soldier that was interviewed, it was through a connection that you had, or
Correct.
somebody
One of the
had-
faculty members.
was not a former student of
No.
Eagan High School who was in the military. But
Right.
and there was another interview that I think was quite remarkable. I learned yesterday that you've even been in the air doing interviews, and I mean literally in an airplane that was flying over Eagan High School. They did an interview that was broadcast on Eagan AM. Tell us how that came to be.
Yeah, that was, I had a student that had his private pilot's license. And so one of the things I love to do in Eagan AM is mirror the industry. So I had a remote crew go there in the morning. They shot all the footage, edited the package, sent it back here, and then they went up in the airplane. It was the last day of school, and we got clearance from the police department so that he flew around the high school, and we connected with him. He said, "Yep, I'm right here," and we rolled the package of him getting the plane
And
ready.
he was a student or former
And he-
student?
Yes, he was a student.
Was a student
Was
here
a
at the
student.
school. That's remarkable.
It was so fun. Kids were running out of the building because
To see the airplane.
they were trying to see, is this real?
And you might wonder, if you didn't know what was going on, why is this airplane, this
Right.
Cessna, circling the Eagan High School? I
Yeah.
can see, good you got your pre-clearances with
We
the
did.
police department,
We did.
perhaps the FAA too, to make sure no one got unusually alarmed about that. So technology has changed since Eagan AM began, right,
Oh
Paul?
my goodness, absolutely.
Just give us a couple of the highlights. What was the technology when Eagan AM began broadcasting in 1995?
So when I took over, I mean, we were editing everything on VHS tapes, and it was a process of linear editing. So you put a tape in on the play deck and the record deck, and you had to chop it up, and it was quite the process. And big camcorders, you probably remember those.
Yeah.
And kids check those out.
And now everything,
Oh.
technology has evolved in such a way, most of it's digital, right? Everything
all-
is
yeah, it's
digital now.
everything
yeah.
now.
Yeah, they don't even talk, they talk about roll to tape, but nobody uses tape anymore.
it's just a phrase. Yeah.
Antique.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in just a moment, we're going to go behind the scenes here into the control room.
Yeah,
aren't
we'll
we?
get Abby. Abby, you're getting that camera set up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we'll get the nod, but yes.
We're going to meet several of your students who
Yeah,
work
so
here.
wait for me. Let's get into the meat of the whole program, which is students.
Let's go do it.
Okay, Abby, are you ready? Are you ready, Anna? She is ready. Okay, punch
We're
us up.
hearing yes, yes, and yes.
Okay,
let's
let's
go
head
on
over.
in there.
All right, we get a little behind the scenes action here. And we'll bring my mic down.
Here we go.
There we go.
And I'm going
And
to
here's
sit right
Anna.
in. Hi, Anna. And
Hi.
let's have you introduce yourselves. Why don't you give us your full name and tell us, give us your name first, and then I'll ask you some questions about what we're doing here.
Great. My name is Anna Levine.
And my name is Allison Huang.
And we are in the control room for Eagan Television here in the TV studio at Eagan High School. So what is your particular job in today's show?
For today's show, I am directing the show, so I basically just switch all of the camera angles, make sure everything's running smoothly, and we can hear everybody.
And that's the key part of the director's job.
Yes.
Yeah, so switching shots and making sure the sound is working well. And how about for you? What is your job
For
here today?
today, I am the tech director, so I go over the switcher and I choose between which shots get chosen, and then I click when the shot is seen on camera or when we're about to
Right.
do it.
So before I began interviewing Paul Saxton today, your teacher, we set up the shot, right? They say composing the shot, which is to make sure that we're in the frame so it looks good on television, right? That's an important part of it. But before you can do a show like Eagan AM, there are a lot of things you have to do ahead of time, right? Who prepares the scripts for that show? You have scripts so that the students who are hosting the show are reading off from a teleprompter. Who prepares the written scripts for the show?
Well, a lot of the work is done by the anchors, the 2 anchors, and the director, and then also the WCR, which is the sports segment. And they all write it and make sure that it's all written, like the announcements and the basic outline of it. But then when it comes to the stories, whoever produces the story has to write the intro and the outro for the story.
Right. And Allison, I understand that, Allison, right?
Yes.
I understand that when I was here yesterday watching the 900th show,
Yes.
30th anniversary, it was very exciting, by the way. I was just a thrill to be here. But I noticed that they did several what they call run-throughs before you actually went live. The show is not pre-recorded, it's broadcast live to your classmates here at Eagan High School. So tell us about why you do the run-through and what happens during the run-through.
I mean, because we do live shows for Eagan AM, I think it's so important to get some rhythm and kind of know what's to come for the show. I think it's always best to, you know, make sure everyone knows what's happening with the show and feels comfortable with it. So being able to do multiple run-throughs, everyone feels more comfortable going into the actual live
Right.
show.
And the run-throughs include things like reading through the script, checking the teleprompter, make sure it's right.
Yes.
The transition between the host speaking and then interviewing a student or a
Yes.
faculty member, right?
Yes. All
Very
those
good.
things.
So when you're doing programs, how often do you do these programs?
Do them every week.
Once
Yeah.
a week on Thursdays.
On Thursdays. Very good. And what have you learned from the time you've been here in this class? What skills have you learned?
I've learned a lot about how to be be a team, and then also learn to like stick up for myself and be determined to do something if I want something to air or something to be done. That if I want it done, I'll get it done, and if it's not good, it will get cut. So just be accepting that things you produce might not be right the first time, and you might have to do it over again and fix it if it's not exactly what the product needs to be.
And that lesson you mentioned there about teamwork, that's really important, isn't it? Because none of us succeed on our own. That whenever we do a television show, there are always people behind the camera who are making sure that the lighting is right, the sound is right. If you have a teleprompter, that the teleprompter is working. Really important.
Yeah.
And those are lessons that I think are going to carry over the rest of your education, the rest of your career. By the way, what do you aspire to be? Do you have career plans right now or further educational plans?
I'm going to go attend Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm hoping to major in theater and then also something in the news world of such. So either both entertainment industry, which is one of my I aspire to do.
Would you have pursued that ambition had you not taken this course?
No, I would not have. I don't think I knew how complicated and intense and amazing that news industry is, and I don't think I would have known about it until I took this class.
Very good. How about for you, Allison? What are your future plans?
My future plans is that next year I'll be going to the University of Minnesota at Carlson for marketing. So I'm really interested in social media marketing and digital marketing. So I do a lot of the graphics for this program in Eagan AM. So kind of learning to use those tools will kind of help me in the future.
So those things you've learned here are going to be relevant to what
Yes.
you hope to do in your future education and career. That's really great. I understand we have some other, well, let's introduce this gentleman right here. Who's this here? Who do we have?
My name is Ari Burgle. I'm just doing audio for the show.
Hey, we can't have a show without audio. Nobody could hear us,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't usually do audio. The last 2 shows I was tech director. I was doing what Anna was doing.
Okay,
But I'm a junior, so next year I'll probably be doing a little more in this class.
right.
But I don't know. I think I like working on the stories more.
Mm-hmm.
Doing like filming the fun stories and editing them and stuff, and not as much the live aspect. But I still like working behind the scenes.
Very
making sure
good.
everything happens.
And so you have another year, you have your senior year coming up, and then do you have future plans for further education or career aspirations?
I'm not too sure. I'm thinking like maybe National Guard or something. along
military.
that. Yeah.
Very
something like
good.
that.
Well, nice to meet you. We also have in studio today somebody else who's an alum of Eagan's TV program.
Yeah, we were thinking if you walk on over here, I got
come on
Josh
over.
here,
Yeah,
and
we
Abby
have-
will just follow you right along. I thought we'd mix things
Oh,
up
we're
a
in the
little
dark
bit.
here. There,
We're in
now
the-
we're
yeah.
in the light.
I was told to sit over here.
I
There we
should
go,
tell
how's
folks,
that?
this fella here is very familiar to me. Josh Sibley, who works for Eagan Television, not the high school, but he is a alum of this very school
Yep.
and this very program.
That is correct, class of 2009.
So what did you learn here, Josh? Obviously, it must have hit close to home given what you're doing now working
So
for
much.
Eagan TV.
I learned so much here. I would not be where I am today without this class, because I went into like film in college, and then after that I was trying to find a job and had the experience here and got a job at North Metro Television, which kind of led me eventually to Eagan Television. So I mean, without the skills of like directing, everything that I did here, I wouldn't have my job now.
And tell us about where you went to school after you graduated from Eagan High School. Where did you go to college?
So I actually went to Augsburg for 2 years and then transferred to Columbia College in Chicago and got a degree in film and cinema arts or something like that. Some silly
Something.
movie making, basically, and then moved back here and got the job at Eagan Television.
And you have an interest or passion, we could say, about filmmaking. Say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I do filmmaking outside of ETV. I have a feature film coming out hopefully later this year. We'll see. We're in post-production right now. I've been making short films. I mean, in high school is how I got started doing the short films. I mean, we borrowed the equipment from here thanks to Paul and some of the other teachers here. So, I mean, really, my career started at Eagan High School.
So Paul Saxton, who we talked to earlier, was your teacher when you
Yes.
were in this program.
Yep, he was. He was a great teacher. Still a great teacher. I learned from him every time we're here.
Still learning.
Yep.
Yeah. And we should say, too, I mentioned earlier that our program Access to Democracy would not be possible. I mentioned earlier we rely on working as a team and having people behind the scenes. Josh is one of the key people, he and Kevin Miller, and Sharon Miller, no relation, but Sharon Miller, who is the spouse of Alan Miller, the founder of our program. We couldn't do the show without them, and Mary Dahlke, our director. So it takes a lot of people behind the scenes to get a program like this up on TV, doesn't it?
It does. It's people don't see like the producing element too, because it's like, I mean, you'll send me schedules and we try to coordinate with the high school to make sure things are going to work, and with
Right.
Eagan Television to make sure everyone's going to be here. It's not as simple as turning on a switch and we're here to go.
Right.
There's a lot that people don't realize that goes into it. Because you have to go. Well, we have a crew. What do we do if we don't have a crew? How are we going
Right.
to do the show?
Right. And what would you say the most significant life lesson is from working in television?
Ooh, putting me on the spot. I think going with the flow.
Being flexible,
Being
perhaps?
flexible, yes. You always have to have a plan to deviate from. So you kind of plan on everything and then realize it's not going to work.
You
the
mean
way
things don't always go according to plan or according to script?
Every once in a while, but most of the time you're in panic mode, especially in
Right.
live productions, trying to figure out. We had to shoot, recently where we were like an hour from going live and nothing was working, and you just go, deep breath. How do we get through it? And I mean, that was skills I learned here.
Right. Is it possible to get a shot over here? There's Kevin Miller, who also works on our show. Kevin, any words of wisdom you want to give us today?
I don't have anything to really offer at the moment, but
And no mic.
And no microphone.
And no mic, I'm sorry, yeah. Well, there's one of those moments where you turn to somebody who's not even mic'd up. In the background there, we have Mary Dahlke, who's our director, and Sharon Miller back there in the corner, who's notoriously camera shy. So what are we down to on time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Well, let's talk a little bit, if we could, Josh. When you look at a studio like this, tell us about this equipment. Where does it come from, and who paid for this equipment? Is any of it donated, or did the school district pay for this? Do you know?
I can't speak to the school's part of it, but a lot of it is the partnership we have with the school. So when we moved out of Eagan Television, when we moved out of Thomson Reuters,
Right.
A lot of the gear we had there, we brought over here,
Right.
In exchange for using the studio for Access to Democracy.
Right.
And I know that they have a budget they work with, and it takes a while to kind of get things going, much like we do with city government as well.
Right.
But I don't know. I can't answer all of that.
And
but-
our set, when we were in studio earlier, you may be able to see through the window here, the Access to Democracy. Well, the TV set in there is used for multiple different shows, but I understand that that set was donated by Care 11, and it's your fourth set that you've had here, Paul. Is that correct? Something like that. Third
It
or
is,
fourth
yeah.
set?
It's our fourth set.
Yeah. So nice to have such a professional set. And I know that when we have guests on our program, They often comment about how impressed they are, how professional it looks. But I mean, this is a state-of-the-art television studio.
Oh,
you know.
absolutely.
And you can do things for post-production. Tell viewers, they sometimes hear this term post-production. What does that mean?
So post-production is like the final stage of production. So it's when you bring the video back, and we do here what's called live to tape, or I mean, it's kind of an older term, but the idea is that we don't have to do much post-production. So Kevin will kind of throw in, we call heads and tails, so you cut off the beginning and the end, because usually it's too long or whatever, and he throws in a couple graphics and we call it good. But like if you're doing a bigger production where you're not going to be, you know, live to tape, you have to edit, and that's all post-production. There's sound, there's color. I mean, the videos we do at ETV, I mean, we do color on them, we have to master the sound, and we have to get them out quickly, usually to make sure they're timely. So post-production is, I mean, it's an overlooked part, but it's huge.
And for Access to Democracy, we add what are called factoids, which when myself or Bill Raker are interviewing a guest, we scroll factoids about the guest or about the subject that we're talking about, and those are added post-production as well, correct?
Yep, so Kevin puts all of those in. I take a look at the final episodes.
Yeah, yeah. What are we down to? I don't have my 3 minutes here.
Walk down back to the desk. You want to end at the desk?
Oh, let's go back. We'll go back in the studio. So maybe we can take a shot here, give folks a good look
Abby,
again.
follow us down here. You bring my mic up. Perfect.
Thanks, guys. And we're going to go back in. As you can see, it's a show. Oh, before we leave, take a shot of this wall here. There's a lot of planning that goes on. I know folks probably can't read all that. You don't need to, but it shows the activities that are coming up or have already occurred for different dates when you have programs scheduled and who's going to be working on helping get those programs recorded.
Yeah, it's our production board.
Yep. Now we'll go back in here. And as you can see, it's not a very long walk.
No.
Just literally just a few
Hey,
steps.
it's nice to give people a little behind-the-scenes tour, right?
Right. We did do a program a few months ago with Josh and Haley Boston, who is the leader of Eagan Television. And so we did have a chance at that time, but today we've actually given our viewers, I think, a little more in-depth view.
Very informal, yeah. Kind of head back there.
Yeah.
But kind of
So,
nice.
Paul, any thoughts about the future of the TV studio here and the classes that are offered?
You know, I think it's just important to know that the medium changes all the time. Kids have their own podcasts, their own YouTube channels, but I think learning, for me anyways, teaching kids how to tell a story transcends all the mediums out there. If I can get them to leave here and actively watch media, not just passively, but actively, so they're always critiquing it. If they can do that and be able to tell stories, that's a win for everybody.
When you do stories about other students or faculty here, do the ideas come from the students?
They do. They are the ones that we need to find out what are they interested in, because students produce amazing stories if they're invested in it. If I throw out something, which sometimes I do, like, nope, you're shooting this story, they'll do it and they'll do a good job at it, but if they're really passionate about it, wow, it's an amazing story.
And someone may have an idea for a good story, but it still needs to be perhaps massaged a little
That's
bit,
exactly
fleshed out,
Yep.
right?
They do it, and they do sloppy copies, and we rework it, and they also try and sometimes put a square peg in a round hole,
Yeah.
and finally we realize it's not working.
Not going to work, so we have to change it.
Yep.
Paul Saxton, teacher here at Eagan High School and the leader of the this television production program class here at Eagan High School. Thank you for being our guest
Thank
here
you
on
for
Access
inviting
to
me.
Democracy. Thank you to Anna, Allison, and Abby, and all of the people here at Eagan High School who make this studio and this program possible.
Great, thanks.